It's a great pleasure to talk about this happiness in the Great Wall, and it's great pleasure to me as the first speaker that I knew that last night. So being a lab rat, it's could be fun. Anyway, so 10 minutes is also my first time, and it's very challenging that I don't have any projector and slides and high-tech stuff, so I need to speak in my second language, so please bear with my language thing. Happiness in China. I think if you think about year 2008, there was a great event happening in Beijing, the Olympic thing. So starting from that year, actually, the whole confidence level of Chinese people are boosting, so much. And actually, from that year, actually, the Chinese GDP level soon overpassed Japan, became the world #2. So that's a great number. But then we happen to see another data which is very interesting, contributed by Gallup study from their world kind of happiness, index, whatever things. And China's, guess what? Where is China compared to GDP as #2? We are at 125th. Which is almost the same level as a very, very underdeveloped African country. So there is a huge gap between our material abundance or development versus the happiness kind of feeling. So this becomes a huge tension of today's China. And then funny enough, the government actually, last year, the Prime Minister said about now we need to change from Deng Xiaoping's growth strategy to make this country a happy nation. So happiness becomes a kind of government-used word to define and becomes the key KPI of the local government official, that they must, make sure that all the people in their region will say, I'm happy. But is that true? Then I think the government did, what Chinese government is good at is to make sure that everything, was built around what the central government is saying. So then we studied the main media from hundreds of TV programs and movies and TV series broadcast nationwide. There is lots of theme about happiness. Happy family, and the story mainly structured like, first of all, not happy, and then the man or the family kind of tried all the way, make all the efforts, then become successful in career, then come back to the family, reunion. So it delivers a super kind of single message of the government, harmony and kind of success, career success and material abundance. And then if you go back to check the bookstore, look of the top-selling books on Amazon, China, and the popular bookstores. Actually, there are lots of things. The top-selling books are about happiness and 快乐 and 幸福. And interestingly, the top 10 are all like the recipe of success. So happiness becomes the super recipe of being successful in your career. So happiness makes you being a winner. Happiness and competition. Happiness brings you a better and happier, better family, that kind of thing. So then if we analyze that in a kind of social context, so what is the cultural orthodoxy of China to define happiness is still, even though the government is promote happiness, but the core value is still not changing at all compared to the past 30 years. It's still about growth and being successful. So that's still the main value system of China. But happiness and harmony becomes the outer decoration or wallpaper of that's key thing. But then, here I want to talk more about what's happening though in other kind of, we say, social disruption or undergoing kind of ideology versus this kind of cultural orthodoxy. Inspired by a book by Nick Marks describing the key 5 pillars of happiness. There are 5 key things in human beings to make happiness. One is connection, about people connection, family, acquaintances. The second is about keep notice. So you need to pay attention to the moment. A third one is be active. So doing sports, make your body active is also something, contribute to happiness. The fourth one is keep learning. So be curious about what's happening, keep expanding your knowledge. The fifth one is about give and help. So to spend certain things on others actually give you more self-fulfillment than you put on yourself. And then actually we observe lots of social happenings in this country, especially in first-tier cities in Beijing, Shanghai, and people start to rely on themselves, and they do these kind of things with their own community. They help each other. I'll give you some example. One could be very, very mass, very, very normal. You may ignore that. So in my office downstairs, there are 30 old ladies gathered together every morning at 7 o'clock. So spend 2 hours, they practice dancing. They're not for show, they're not for any success, there's no money to sponsor. They take out their own money, buy the speaker, buy the kind of all the music facilities, but they are so enthusiasm, they're so active, so it's not supported by any local community. So if you think back of this connection, give and help, being active, so they kind of fantastically carry on that. It's nothing about being successful. And second is there is one new kind of social activism happening in Bay City with a funny name called 1X Running. So before, I think it's a very interesting social innovation. Before, when we talk about help others, you basically donate money to poor kids, buy books and buy eggs, because in remote places, children do not have enough eggs to eat. But this organization is very interesting. The whole bunch of volunteers, and then they say, they bet with friends, I can run 50 kilometers. If I finish that thing, or walk, sorry, not run. It's I can walk 50 kilometers. If I finish that, you bet on that. You will donate that money to the kind of to the organization to buy eggs for children. So it's kind of on one hand you help others, you make children have eggs to eat. On the other hand, actually it bond people together. It's become an activity like we are doing today. So we're together, we're doing things for the goodness of ourselves. So it's kind of a social innovation thing. And third interesting example is was recently happened in Xi'an, a second-tier city. It was done by a Chinese teenager, I think it's 19 or 20 something. So he sold an apartment that his parents left with him, and he bought a camping bus actually, with that bunch of money, and he invited another 11 friends, all young people, so they kind of also donate money, so sell lots of their personal belongings, and then they form a kind of team, so they will spend 1 year to do the global traveling. So it's all about keep learning, keep expanding. It's not like a majority of if you follow the mainstream value system, it's really about go to the top university, find an ideal job in international company or doing your own business. But to them, life is really about exploring and learning things. So maybe to lots of Westerners, it's just so normal. But as a Chinese living in this kind of super competition, super material-driven world, it's something very, very rare. So I would say today, if you say happiness in China, to us, it's still a long journey. We do have kind of improving living quality, but for the happiness fulfillment, it's a long journey. But I think it's more driven by the people themselves rather than the government. So that's something to share.